Welcome to Drive the Daf, clear, structured explanation of the daily Daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
Pesachim Daf is in the middle of a lengthy sugya comparing and contrasting the Isser of Chametz on Pesach and the Isser of Chametz after Pesach. And another thing involved is, are we talking about Chametz that belong to a Jew on Pesach, or are we talking about Chametz that belong to a guy or to Hektish, both of which are different than Chametz which belongs to a regular Jew. So what's happening here is we have a three-way Machokas Tanaim on the topic. And the Gemara is going to try to see which of these three fits into our Mishnah. Then the Gemara will explain two opinions of Amirayim as to how to understand the Machlokas. The Gemara will then go into the discussion of what exactly is the status of Hektish on Pesach, Hektish Chametz, and then the Gemara will enter into a complex discussion of what happens when Chametz gets mixed into non-Chametz, both those that taste the same and those that taste different on Chametz or after Chametz, on Pesach or after Pesach, and what are those halachas? So we've seen so far, there are two zones of Chametz which we are discussing. We are discussing Chametz on Pesach and Chametz after Pesach. We had seen three opinions of Tanaim and Abraisa. There was Rabbi Yossi ben Glili, who held that Chametz is never Asur B'Hana. There's no Isser Hana. Chametz is Asur B'Achila on Pesach. There's no Isser Hana. There's only an Isser Achila, and after Pesach it's mutter. We'd seen the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says that on Pesach there is an Isser Hana and there is a Chiyuv Kares, but before Pesach and after Pesach there is no Isser Hana and there is no Chiyuv Kares. As a matter of fact, it's possibly completely mutter, according to Rabbi Shimon. That'll be part of this discussion. And the most machmir opinion was that of Rabbi Yehuda, who said that on Pesach, Chametz is an Isser Kares, before Pesach and after Pesach, it's just a lav, but there definitely is an Isser Hana in all those circumstances. Now, all these three opinions do not fit in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah had differentiated between Chametz that belongs to a Jew on Pesach and Chametz that belongs to a guy on Pesach as to what its halacha is after Pesach. If it belonged to a Jew on Pesach, then it's Asur after Pesach. If it belonged to a guy on Pesach, then it's Mutter after Pesach. And we don't see anybody in our three opinions here who holds it that way. Nobody differentiates between Chametz of a Jew and Chametz of a guy. Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's all Asur after Pesach, and Rabbi Shimon holds that it's all, and Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yossi both hold that it's all Mutter after Pesach. So who is the author of our Mishnah? So the Gemara brings two opinions of Amirayim as to how we could fit in at least one of these opinions into our Mishnah. So the Gemara first brings Rav Bar Yaakov, who says that it's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, even though Rabbi Yehuda says that there is an Isser Chametz after Pesach that is limited to Chametz of a Jew, not Chametz of a guy, even though he doesn't say so. And the reason it's limited to Chametz of a guy, even though it's an Isser D'Oraisa, there's an Isser Chametz, it's an Isser D'Oraisa, it's limited to Chametz of a Jew, Chametz which belonged to a Jew over Pesach itself, not Chametz of a guy. And the reason is that there is a link between the pasuk which describes the Isser owning Chametz and the Isser Achila and Hana of Chametz. And just like the Isser owning Chametz only applies to Chametz which belongs to you, it's not only owning, you can't even see or have Chametz in your possession, but that's only if it's your Chametz. If you have the Chametz of a guy in your possession, that's not a problem if it's in your territory. So just like that is limited to Chametz which belongs to a Jew, now Chametz which belongs to a guy, the link tells us that the Isser Achilas Chametz also only applies to Chametz that belongs to you. It does not apply to Chametz that belongs to a guy. Says the Gemara, therefore, Rabbi Yehuda is the author of this Mishnah, who says that you have an Isser Achilas Chametz after Pesach only on Chametz which belong to a Jew over Pesach, not Chametz which belong to a guy. Says the Gemara, we should really go further than our Mishnah went. We should even say that you're even allowed to eat the chametz. It only says you're allowed to have enough in the chametz. You should even say you're even allowed to eat it. The only reason we discussed it now is because we wanted to say that chametz which did belong to a Jew on Pesach is Asur B'Hana after Pesach. So we contrasted within the Isser Hana. But the truth is, after Pesach, if it belonged to a guy, you're really even allowed to eat it. Not only that, you're even allowed to eat chametz which belongs to a guy on Pesach. The Isser Achila is limited to Chametz which belongs to a Jew. Chametz which belongs to a guy is mutter to eat on Pesach. There is certainly an Isser D'Rabbanan, is a Machokas Rishonim whether there's another Isser D'Oraisa besides for this to actually eat a guy's Chametz on Pesach itself. Tosfos points out there is no case of eating a guy's Chametz because as soon as you take it into your mouth, you take possession of it and it becomes yours. So this is not an actual practical heter. But either way, that is what this opinion holds, and therefore the author of our mission is Rabbi Yehuda. This is again Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Now Rava says differently. Rava says no, this is Rabbi Shimon. And Rabbi Shimon holds that there is no Iser Hana Midoraisa after Pesach. The Iser Hana of Chametz is only on Pesach. The reason why our Mishnah says that there is an Iser to eat Chametz after Pesach, and there's an Iser to have Hana from Chametz after Pesach, is Midir Rabbanon. The Rabbanon created a knas. They penalized people who had Chametz over Pesach itself by not allowing them to get any hana from it after Pesach, but that is their Rabbanon, and that's what our Mishnah was referring to. Now, says the Gemara, let's analyze the Mishnah itself. The Mishnah gave a reason. It said the reason for all this is because the Torah says, Lo Yera Lecha, you should not have Chametz. Now, according to Rava, so I understand that. That is the reason that there is an Isser Hana, because there's a Knas, because you were not supposed to keep the Chametz over Pesach, you violated. That's a fine. We penalize you because it says Lo Yera. That is a good explanation for why it is usher to eat or have enough from chametz, which is still hanging around after Pesach itself. But how do you understand the contrary of Rav Acha bar Yaakov? What does it have to do with anything? So the Gemara says this is not an explanation of why there is an Iser Hana on chametz which belong to a Jew over Pesach. The reason that is being given here, this is an explanation for why it's mutter b'hana if it belongs to a goy over Pesach, because it says Lo Yera lecha. The Iser is only on you, and the Iser of keeping chametz is linked to the Iser eating and having enough for chametz after Pesach, like we said, and therefore it's limited only to chametz which belongs to a Jew and not chametz which belongs to a guy, and that is what is being explained over here. The Gemara says, there is actually a practical difference halachically between the explanation of Rava and the explanation of Rav Acha bar Yaakov. According to the explanation of Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rabbi Yehuda would say that if somebody eats chametz, which belonged to a goy or to hektish, he didn't violate any Isser, because the Isser is limited to chametz which belongs to you. According to Rava, Rav Yehuda never said such an opinion. Rav Yehuda would stick with his opinion all along. He never has a difference between hektish and the goy chametz to that belongs to a Jew, and he would say that if you eat such chametz before Pesach or on Pesach, you definitely are over an Isser D'Oraisa. So there's a practical difference there. So says the Gemara, Rav Acha bar Yaakov actually changed from this position. He no longer holds what he once said, that Rabbi Yehuda says that it would be no Isser to eat chametz or have enough from chametz that belong to hektish or a guy on Pesach. There is no Isser after Pesach. Rav Acha bar Yaakov did change from that position, and now he holds that there is such an Isser, even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Where do we see that? So the Gemara says we're going to see it in discussion of Amiraim, how to understand the machlokes Tanoim on the topic of somebody who eats hektish chametz. There's a machlokes Tanoim which we have in a brisa, whether somebody who eats chametz that belongs to hektish violates an Isser Me'ila and has to bring a carbon Me'ila or not. We know generally the rule is if you take something that has value from hektish, stealing from hektish, you did Me'ila, you have to bring a carbon Me'ila. There's a machlokes Tanoim whether that applies to chametz on Pesach or not. And there are 5 opinions of the Amoraim how to explain this machlokes Tanoim. Why should there be Me'ila or not? Now Rav Acha bar Yaakov's explanation is as follows. He says that the 2 Tanoim, one is Rabbi Shimon and one is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon holds that there is no Isser after Pesach itself. Therefore, this chametz of hektish has value. After Pesach, you'll be able to use it. And therefore, somebody who goes and eats chametz which belongs to hektish is taking something valuable, and he's violating the Isser Me'ila. He has to bring a carbon Me'ila. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you can't do anything with it. Even after Pesach, it'll be Asur Hana. Therefore, it has no value. And you didn't take anything which has value. You don't take anything which has value. There is no Isser Me'ila. The Gemara says, there you see clearly that Rav Nechunya, there you see clearly that Rav Acha bar Yaakov does hold that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, something that is taken from hektish still has an Isser Hana after Pesach itself. That's what he just said. That is different than what he has been saying on this daf so far, that Rabbi Yehuda says that chametz, which belongs to a guy or hektish on Pesach, does not have an Isser after Pesach. So you see, Rav Acha bar Yaakov changed and he moved away from that position. Okay, now the Gemara, let's fill in the remaining 4 ways of explaining this machlokes. Is there Me'ila on somebody who eats chametz which belongs to hektish on Pesach or not? So the Gemara's first explanation is Renuchuni ben Akana, and he says that this Isser has nothing to do with whether it's valuable or not. This Machlokas has nothing to do with whether it's valuable or not. This Machlokas is about somebody who does two Averos at once. Does he get punished for two things, or does he only just get the bigger one? Now we know that such a concept is true. If somebody has to get Misa from a Beis Din, he cannot get a smaller punishment for the same action, such as if he sets fire to somebody's property on Shabbos, he doesn't have to pay for the property because he's going to get Misa from the Beis Din for Shabbos. The question is here, where he's not getting Misa from the Beis Din, he's getting Kares. So the question is, does he have to pay for his Me'ilah and bring a Karban Me'ilah, and here where he's getting Kares for eating Chametz? So one Tana says, yes, he does have to pay for it. The fact that he gets a greater punishment does not absolve him from the smaller one because it's just kares, it's not a Beis Din. And the other one says no, you can only get one punishment for one action. If he's getting kares for eating chametz, he doesn't have to bring me'ilah for taking hekdish's chametz. Now the Gemara has the first explanation given by Rav Yosef, and he says actually what's happening over here is that we are going with the opinion of Rav Yosef that there is no Isser Hana on this chametz. The question is it possible for somebody to redeem this chametz and use it anyway? He definitely can't eat it. It's Pesach, you still can't eat the chametz. The question is, could you redeem it and get hana from it? Are you allowed to use hektish to feed to your dogs or to your animals or something? You're allowed to get hana from hektish possessions besides for eating it. So one Tana says you can't. You're not allowed to redeem a hektish and feed it to your dog. Therefore, this chametz has no value to anybody. Even though it's mutter b'hana, you're not allowed to redeem hektish and feed it to your animals. The other Tana says no, you are allowed to, and therefore it does have value. And somebody who takes it is violating the Isser Me'ilah. Now the Gemara brings another version of the explanation in the name of Rav Yosef, and that is as follows: you definitely can't redeem it and feed it to your animals. That's clear. The thing is though, after Pesach you'll be able to use it. And the shaila is, the machlokes is, does this chametz have value now because after Pesach you'll be able to eat it? Again, we are working with the opinion that you're allowed to eat chametz after Pesach. So do we say, listen, you can't do anything with it now, but it still has value because you'll be able to use it after Pesach, and therefore you violated Me'ilah by taking it now? Or do we say, no, it doesn't have any value now, I can't do anything with it now, don't tell me about what's going to happen after Pesach, it has no value now, therefore there's no Me'ilah involved with it now. Now, Rav Acha Bar Yaakov's explanation we saw already. The Gemara's last explanation is that this is actually a machlokes between Rabbi Yossi Aglili against Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds that there is no Isser Hana even on Pesach itself, and therefore you're allowed to do something with it. You can feed it to your animals. And Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda hold there is an Isser Hana, and you can't feed it to your animals because of the Isser Hana. Again, both opinions here are holding that there's no problem of feeding hektish to your animals. Feeding something which you redeemed from hektish to your animals, the question just is there an Isser Hana on chametz on Pesach or not? And that's why there's a machlokes whether there's Me'ilah. If there's an Isser Hana, there's nothing you can do with it, and therefore there's no Me'ilah. It has no value. On the other hand, if there is no Isser Hana, then it does have value, and there would be an Isser Me'ilah. The Gemara now moves on to discuss what is the halacha when you have chametz mixed into mutter foods. Do you say that the entire mixture is also because of the chametz that's in it, or is the chametz that's in it batal and therefore the entire mixture is mutter? So the Gemara says there's a number of factors to consider over here. First of all, do you have enough heter to be mevatel? They said, do you have 60 times as much of the permitted foods as the forbidden foods? That would be a sheer bittul. Or do you not have that much? Do you have a large enough amount of forbidden foods that it would not be batel? The next question is, what are we talking about? Which part of Yom Tov? We mean when it's on Pesach itself, where there is a clear Isser, or do we mean after Pesach, when there's a machlokas whether there's an Isser or not, and even according to Rabbi Yehuda that there is an Isser, it's not kares. Another question is, what is the chametz being mixed into? Is it something with the same flavor as the chametz, or is it a different flavor? That's important because if the flavor is the same, then you can't taste the chametz there anyway. According to some, that's automatically batel, and according to some, that's automatically not batel. And if you can't taste the flavor, if it's mixed into something with a different flavor, then it would depend on the shear of bittul that you have. So the Gemara is going to work through these cases. So we have three disparate opinions of three different Amorim, Rav, Shmuel, and Rabbi Yochanan, and the Gemara will explain how each one works out their opinions, what he holds. So first of all, Rav. Rav says that if it's on Pesach, it's automatically Asr, the entire mixture is Asr. He doesn't specify more than that. If it is after Pesach, then if it's Min B'minoi, that means that the Isser and Heter are the same flavor. You can't tell the flavor of one over the other, then it's Asr. If, however, it's Einei Minoi, it's different flavors, then it's Mutter. Now, obviously, Rav holds that after Pesach there is an Isser, because otherwise there wouldn't be anything to discuss. It wouldn't make sense for him to say that it's ever Asr after Pesach. And what exactly is Rav's understanding? How come after Pesach it's Mutter? It couldn't be that there is too much Isser for it to be Batel. It has to be that there is a Shir Bittel. That's why it is Mutter after Pesach. So the question that becomes is, how come it's not Batel on Pesach, and how come it's not Batel if it is after Pesach and it's the same flavor? So the Gemara says Rav is of the opinion, we've seen this in many other places in Shas, that Min B'mino is never Batel. If you have the Isser and the Heter are the same flavor, there is no Bittel. Bittel is only when you have a different flavor being Mevatel, the flavor of the Isser. Therefore, in the case when it's Min B'minoi, both on Pesach and after Pesach, he holds that it has to be Asr. Now, if it's on Pesach, even when it's Einoi Minoi, even when it's a different flavor, we say that it's Asr anyway, even though we're talking about where there is enough to be Mevatel the Isser, it's Asr anyway, and that's a Gzeira. You may get confused and wind up being Materit when it is Einoi Minoi. Meaning, if you say that if you have 60 times as much Heter as this, it'll be Mutter. In the case where it's different flavors, you may come to say that halacha in the case where it's the same flavors, and that's wrong. However, we don't say that Gzeira in a case of after Pesach. After Pesach, we don't make the Gzeira because anyway it's not an Isser Kares, and therefore we don't have to worry about it so much, so we don't make the Gzeira. That's why Rav ends up saying the only case which is Mutter is after Pesach, when you have a Shir Bitol, and it is different flavors, therefore it's Batal. That's Rav's opinion. Now, Shmuel says that if it's after Pesach, it's for sure Mutter. And the Gemara says that's simple because Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon, there's no Isser after Pesach. On Pesach, Shmuel says, if it's Min B'minoi, same flavor, it's Asr. That's because Shmuel holds, like Rav, that there is no Bittel when it's the same flavor. It doesn't matter, even though you have more than 60 times as much Heter than Isser. And, however, if it's Einei, if it's different flavors, Rav there says that it is Mutter, and the reason for that is because he doesn't make a Gzeira. He doesn't say you have to say a Gzeira that if we'll allow that, then he will end up saying that it is permitted even in the case of Min B'minoi. That's Shmuel's opinion. Now, Rav Yochanan. So Rav Yochanan says an interesting split halacha. First of all, as far as when it's after Pesach, he says everything is mutter. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be interested in any other factors because he holds like Rabbi Shimon. There's no Isser of Chametz after Pesach at all. Now, when it's on Pesach, so he says as follows. He says that there's no difference whether it's minoi or einei minoi, whether it's the same flavors or different flavors, the Yisr and the Heter. The only difference is, do you have 60 times as much or not? If you have 60 times as much as Batal, if you don't have 60 times as much, then it's not Batal, and the entire mixture is Aser. What does he hold? So Rav Yochanan clearly holds that there is no difference between minoi and einei minoi. The flavor doesn't matter. You have to have shishim either way. That's what he holds in all Isurim. That's what he holds here as well. That's why if you have a shir bittul, it's Batal, and the whole mixture is mutter, and if you don't have a shir, then it's
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.